and we want some tips on persuasive writing. Show off your school. And last but not least, Mr. Prime Minister, we are very keen on our sport, as you are, and we have heard about John Alexander MP's table tennis at the schools program. And our kids love sport, and we thought, well, we might give you a bit of a nudge and see if there's any chance we can get, how many, 3 table tennis tables? Maybe? What's our hope anyway? So that was the purpose. Yeah, that was the purpose. And then the audience, we thought, well, we have to think about the audience as well, and why might Mr. Abbott like to come here? And the kids pulled these ideas again, that he would certainly get a warm reception, enthusiastic students and enthusiastic learners, again 21st century learning, and again to show off our school. So we do thank you very, very much. We have a few questions we'd like to ask, and if we do have time, maybe you could possibly after that circulate and give us some suggestions on our next persuasive writing. Thank you. So the first question, please.
Good morning, Prime Minister Abbott. My name is Daniel. My question is, why did you decide to go into politics?
Well, thank you, Daniel. That's an excellent question. And most people decide to go into politics because they want to make a difference. And I was no different from any of the other hundreds of people who are in our parliament. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to see happier people, richer communities, a prouder Australia, and I thought that the best way that I could help to bring that about was in the Parliament. Now the fact is all of us in the end contribute to richer communities, happier people, a prouder Australia by doing whatever it is we do as well as we can. But if you are in the Parliament, you can have a leadership role, particularly when it comes to passing laws, setting national policies, making big decisions for our country. And it's been a real privilege and honour for 20 years now to be a member of the Parliament representing this beautiful part of the world. And increasingly, as a minister in a government and as a leader of a political party and now as Prime Minister, being very much one of the focal points, if you like, of our nation's life. Thank you, Daniel. Who's next?
Good morning, Prime Minister Abbott. My name is Margie. This year in English we have been studying persuasive tenses. How do you persuade your fellow members of Parliament towards your point of view?
Well, Matt, that's another very good question. I can see you've been working hard on these questions because they're quite perceptive ones. The best way to persuade people that what you propose is worth doing is by finding something that's very important to them that your proposal will help. And most of us, for instance, want a richer country. Most of us, for instance, want a safer country. So if you can pitch what you are proposing in terms of helping to make our people and our country better off, in terms of helping to make our people and our country safer, that is normally a pretty good place to start. I don't want to pretend that it's easy because our Parliament is an adversarial place. It's meant to be an adversarial place because if everyone just said yes, proposals wouldn't be properly scrutinised. But the best way to get people ultimately to say yes is to find something that they really want in their hearts and in their minds and successfully appeal to that. Thank you, Matt. Who's next?
Good morning, Prime Minister Abbott and Mrs. Abbott. My name is Imogen. My question is, what happens when people don't agree with your point of view?
Well, that rarely happens, as you know, Imogen. Well, there are two things you can do if people don't agree. You can try very hard to persuade them, and sometimes you succeed, sometimes you fail. If enough people don't agree, and if the hope of persuading them is remote, sometimes you have to accept that you just can't do whatever it is that you wanted to do. And governments, even the most successful governments, sometimes have to accept that some things that they wanted to do, for all sorts of good reasons, can't happen, or certainly can't happen right now. So when people don't agree with you, you've got to make an assessment. Why don't they agree? Can they be persuaded? If they can't be persuaded, how important is it? Is it worth trying to push it through in the face of disagreement? Or is it one of those times when you just have to say, well, majority rules, these things just can't happen right now? Thanks, Imogen. Who's next?
Good morning, Prime Minister Abbott. My name is Vivian. What do you enjoy most about your job?
Well, thank you, Vivian. Do any of you know about the special event that happened yesterday? Imogen, what was that?
About plane crashing.
That's correct. That's correct. Now, we had a National Day of Mourning yesterday for the victims and the loved ones of flight MH17. And it was a very, very sad day. But it was also an incredible privilege for me and for Margie, for the Governor-General and Lady Cosgrove, for various other members of the governments, both state and federal, to have a chance to talk to the families and the loved ones of the people who were on that flight, because they've gone through a terrible, terrible experience, an indescribably awful experience, but nearly all of them are facing that with tremendous courage and with great spirit. And it is a privilege to meet people, sometimes great people, more often very normal Australians, but to see them at their best, to have a chance to learn more of their personal story, that is a really special privilege in my life, and that's one of the things that I do appreciate most about the job that I've got. Thank you for that excellent question. Who has the next question?
Good morning, Prime Minister Abbott. My name is Annabelle. My question is, what did you learn in primary school that helps you do your job today?
Well, that's another good question, Annabelle. Well, you learn all sorts of things all the time, and sometimes the most important things you learn are not the things you learn in the classroom, they're the things that you learn while you are going to school. And I guess the best thing about my time at primary school was that I made some very good friends, and I still have a couple of people who were friends of mine from primary school who I see even now as friends 50 years later. So the lesson was not so much a classroom lesson, but it was a life lesson, and that was make friends and keep them. Thank you, Annabelle.
Final question from Tom.
Good morning, Prime Minister Abbott and Mrs. Abbott. My question is, how do you balance being active and healthy while being Prime Minister?
Well, thank you, Tom. And are you a sportsman yourself, are you?
Sort of.
Sort of. What sport do you play?
Soccer.
Soccer, okay. Well, that's a terrific sport, and let's hope we do better in the World Cup next time, eh? But, well, Tom, look, I think it's really important for me, everyone's different, but it's really important for me to stay physically active, because if I stay physically active, I think I stay mentally fresh, and very important for anyone in a stressful job to stay mentally fresh, and I guess to stay as grounded and together as you possibly can be. And the only way, given all the demands on prime ministerial time, to keep the exercise up is to get up very early in the morning. I normally get up at 5 o'clock to go for a run or a trip to the gym or ride the bike up and down some local hills, and to try to ensure that even in a very busy schedule you do have a little bit of time for those things. For instance, on the weekend I'll often try to go out for a bike ride with people who I've been friends with since school days, since university days, people who I've got to know over the years, and it's a terrific way to maintain really important friendships. And in the end, it doesn't matter what you are, you've got to be a human being first. The essence of being a human being is to spend time with the people who matter to you. So thank you, Tom. Very good question.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Kidd, was I also...
You've been listening to the Prime Minister Tony Abbott. He was speaking there to students at Seaforth Public School in Sydney.
And this curse must be banished from our society.